Hey guys, welcome to the JB's Nature Walk, and today I'm gonna do something different for today's video. So today, for some reason, I was just thinking about the frog. I have such a fascination for photographing frogs. I've been told by many people that I'm just good at photographing frogs. I have a knack for it. And just recently, I was just thinking about the spiritual meaning of frogs. Like, what does the frog represent? At least, what does it represent to me? And I'm gonna dive deep about that. What does it mean for me? And I'm gonna be talking about it from the frog animal totem perspective, and just what the frog represents for me. And I've actually jotted down a lot of notes, and I'm just thinking, like, man, what does the frog represent for me? I just spit out a lot of my thoughts from my mind, just put it on paper, and I just want to share with you guys. So let's get started. So not everything I written down on my notes is like in order. So there will be some things we talked about recently, but then I kind of stirred away from it and I'll get back to it. That probably will happen in this video, but you know how it is. We get like so much information in your head, you just gotta like release it, even though it might be redundant or it might it might be redundant, it might not, but it might be related to that certain topic. So that might happen in this video, but it's okay. As long as I get the information out there and share with you guys, that's all that matters. So I've actually got all these frog images you see in this video, and it's got them in June. This whole month alone, and it is amazing, man. There is something inside me that's like, I had to get these frog pictures, man. I had to get these frog pictures. All right, so I'm gonna start out. So what does the frog represent? So the frog actually represents transformation. Frogs are associated with water and land. And I think people get confused with frogs and toads. I'm going to explain to you the difference between the frogs and toads. So, like I just said, frogs represent water and land. So, frogs live both land and water. Toads, on the other hand, they live on land. That's it. Now, there are some toad species that do live on. They like, what's the word? They'll like come, but they were made in water, right? They were made in water, and they will, like, as they get older, that they will still like have that tadpole stage in the water, but as they get older, they'll start to live in land. Some toad species, like I think the Eastern American toad does that. But yeah, but with frogs though, they live in water when they're younger, from eggs to tadpole, and when they get older, become adult, they'll live in land, but they also come back to water to live. So that's one way to differentiate between frog and toad. Another thing is too, frogs have smooth skin, and that's because they live on water mostly. And toads, on the other hand, they have dry, bumpy skin, and that represents their earthbound side because they always live on land. So toads have a pituitary gland, and that pituitary gland is it's like behind their eyes, but close to the ears a little bit, and it contains some type of white mucus substance. It's very poisonous, and this poison is neurotoxic. So that means that poison will head right to your neurons if you actually, I guess, got some of that in your system. So the reason it has that poison, I'm gonna tell you what my reason is. So when so I just explained to you why the difference between frogs and toads, right? If you notice, toads live on land, so toads have more predators. And there's a lot of predators that wouldn't mind eating some toads. You know what I mean? A lot of predators. So that prevents the predators from eating them. So whenever a large predator sees a toad, it might not actually go for it because it knows it has poison somewhere in its head. So that's why. Now there are some frogs that do have that same purgatory gland. Some do, not a lot of them. But there are some frog species that have like poison on their skin. So that's another thing to think about as well. So toads, they have to defend themselves on land, so they have the purgatory gland. It's like close to the ear, like by the backside of their behind the ears. I mean the eyes of theirs. It's quite like near the ear area of the toad. So that's the difference between frogs and toads. Another thing too I want to point out, since now because I'm gonna explain to you what water and land represents for me. Now since toads live on land, that represents the masculine side. I'm gonna say this: toads are masculine; they represent the masculine energy, and frogs, they represent the feminine energy. Now the reason I say that is because frogs are, since they're tied to water, water is quite feminine. It's tied to the feminine energy, and water represents creativity, your child side, subconscious mind, the negative energy, the negative pole, the feminine energy, your emotions, the moon. While land represents the mundane matters, the like going to work every day, masculine energy, financial success, foundation, positive pole, earth, stuff like that. So that's how I differentiate between the frog and the toad from my perspective. Another thing too, so frogs, because they're tied to the water, they're also tied to the moon. What else? And also, frogs, they tend to croak and mate at night when the moon is up. So, for frog people or people interested in frogs, definitely look into being connected to the moon, looking at what the moon represents for you. Water is always tied to emotions. So definitely get in touch with your emotion. Maybe you see a frog, think about the first thing I think about is the emotions. And I think about connecting to my feminine side. So definitely think about that. You come across a frog. I'm still looking through my notes here, guys. I've written down a lot of stuff. I was jotting down a lot of stuff, man. Yes, so frogs is feminine energy. Toads are no, toads are masculine energy. Frogs are feminine energy. So because the frog is tied, so the main thing, since frogs live on both land and water, this makes them a multi-dimensional, I'd say a multi-dimensional animal, in my opinion. So basically, frogs are flexible enough to adapt to both land and water. And this is what the frog can teach us. This is what it's taught me. So being able to live on both land and water allows the frog to hunt for different prey that live in either land or water or both. That's pretty awesome. Now you think about the toad. Well, now there are some toads that do live in water, but they don't really live in it as much. They're mainly tied to land. But the frog teaches us not to limit ourselves to one thing, but it teaches us to be open to infinite things and infinite possibilities. So if you, that's basically what the frog is, by living example. Because it lives on both land and water, it doesn't tie itself to one element. It's open to other elements as well, and that's what it's basically teaching us. Just by observing the frog, its life cycle. Those are key things to look out for when you see a frog. At least that's what I got from the frog. So the frog also teaches us to sit in one spot for a while and observe our surroundings. The frog can easily camouflage itself in its own environment. So it camouflages to hide from predators, but also to hide from its prey, so that it can easily subdue its prey. Very keen I would say, a keen way to live in your environment. Because you aren't just hiding from your predators, but you're also hiding from your prey because you don't want your prey to know you're there, right? And that's what the frog teaches us. The frog teaches us to go within ourselves and reflect on what we have learned about ourselves so that we can become our greatest version. So important. This is what I got from the frog, guys. This was in my mind. I've written this down. This is what I'm getting from the frog. I have a stronger fascination for frogs, man. Another thing, too, what else I've written it down? Because it's tied to, the frog is tied to water, it's tied to fertility. Water is all about fertility. It's all about feeding what you have inside you so it can grow. That's it's the frog is an amazing what should I call it? It's the fertility master, but it's also tied to growth as well. It's all about development. The whole life cycle of a frog is tied to development, inner development, external development, all kinds of stuff like that. Frogs, so they move by hopping or leaping. And to me, this stood out to me a lot. It's remember the frog can make large leaps, guys. So whenever you see a frog jump or leap, this can be tied to you making financial success in your life, or you making large leaps in your goals or your health. Whatever project you have, and you see a frog present itself to you, it's letting you know that you're gonna make a lot of large leaps in any area of your life. It could be any area. So definitely think about that when you see a frog, especially if you see it hopping or leaping like that. The frog also reminds you to get in touch with your emotions, your feminine side, because it's tied to water. Now I already said that recently, but I just want to get back into that as well. What else? The frog teaches us to spend time in the water to cleanse ourselves of unwanted energy and to make that a daily practice because frogs, they spend a lot of time in water. They bask in the sun as well, but they sit in the water. They go within unresolved emotions. They clear all that out of themselves. And that's basically what they're teaching us. Don't let any unresolved emotion just sit in your system. Let that go. And the frog is a great teacher to help you with that. So the power times, I would say, of the frog, basically the power times are like, when's the frog most active? It's spring and summer. And I think this is one of the main reasons why I even connected with the frog, because the frog, I was born in August. So that's the time you will see frogs. And that's the season, summer, right? Spring and summer. So this is why one of the main reasons I even connect with the frog. So those are his power times. Another thing too, frogs are the symbol of metamorphism. Why did I say that? They go through 3 stages: eggs, tadpole, and frog. The frog teaches us to be open to our transformations in each stage of our life. Very important. They are the masters of metamorphism. They are masters of change. That's one of the main messages of the frog. The frog life stages can be compared to the human life stages. The human goes from baby, teenager, and adult. So the baby stage is like the egg, the teenage stage is like the tadpole, and the adult stage is like the frog. So metamorphism, in my opinion, this is my word, is tied to alchemy. Alchemy is tied to the changing of elements from one form to another. That is facts. So the frog is a powerful alchemist. Deep stuff here. So the frog teaches us to change our current life situation from negative to positive or vice versa. This is when the magic comes in. By becoming immersed with our emotions that feeds or waters our thought forms to create and produce the life that we have been so emotionally invested in. So whatever thought form you've been thinking about and you've been feeding a certain emotion into that thought form. It could be a positive or negative. It doesn't matter what emotion it is, what the polarity of that emotion. But whatever polarity you feed that emotion with, that's what's going to water that thought form, which then creates that life. It will create that thought form into your life. So, and the frog is very familiar with the universal law, guys. Very familiar with that. So the frog urges us to be careful about what emotions you water your thoughts and thought forms with, because that ultimately will create the life or thing that you have been thinking about the most. And to me, that's the most powerful message the frog can basically teach us. It knows the universal laws, it knows how to use it, and to create the life that it wants. So this was all in my mind, guys. There's so much about the frog that, I don't know, just so much to think about. And sorry, all this was in my head. I just had to share that with you guys. But those are the main things I want to talk about with the frog. It's a powerful alchemist. It's the man. It teaches us that to embrace our life stages. Don't look down on this life phase you're going through. Like, it's life. It's water, and since it lives in water, water is always changing. Water goes through different stages. It goes through the solid state. It can go through the crystal state like ice. It can even go through the gas state, like in the clouds. Like the cycle of water, the cycle of life. That's what we all go through. So be open to your changes. Don't look down on anything. Be careful what you're feeding you're feeding your thought forms. Wait, what emotion you're feeding your thought forms. So be careful with that as well. And just be observant of your surroundings. Being being king on your surroundings. Because they have superb hearing. Very superb hearing indeed. So that's all I want to share with you guys. The frog is one of my favorite animals. I have a knack for photographing them, but I also was very curious and keen on the spiritual meaning. Like, what does it mean for me, the frog? And differentiate between the frog and the toad, because I know a lot of people get confused about that. So I just want to share with you guys how you tell the difference between them. And I guess that's it. That those are the main things I wanted to get out to you guys, because it was on my mind for the longest time. So I just had to share with you guys. And I hope you guys will enjoy this video. And I'll see you guys later. I hope you guys enjoy watching today's video about the frog symbolism. What is the spiritual meaning of the frog, basically? What does the frog represent? I had to get that out of my head. It was all in my head, guys. So I just shared with you what I written down, and I'm glad I did. So all these images in this video are mine, and I just got them all in the season of June this year. So I'm definitely glad you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next week. Hey guys, so I post every Thursdays at 2 o'clock p.m. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Purchase my prints and books in the description below. And I'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful day.